gotten soft, man. And so that's why I wrote this book. I say that the old world rewarded obedience, the new world demands killer instincts.
And the main thing that most entrepreneurs lack is belief. If more people just believed in themselves, the world would actually be a much better place.
And I think confidence builds over time as you assert yourself into situations with the belief that you'll be able to figure it out.
The amount of times that I wanted to quit and leave the pod before I had enough, it brought me to a level where I just knew like I could not stop.
The guy that doesn't give up is a hard motherfucker to beat. That's the tough dude to beat when you just don't give up.
The golden rule is, treat others how you'd want to be treated, but the platinum rule is treat others how they would want to be treated.
And I love the saying that entrepreneurs jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down.
The difference between conceptual knowledge and knowledge that you actually use and understand to a real degree is like 10 years of mistakes.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll. Welcome to another episode of the Sales Factory. I got a good one for you today. My guest is Shaquil Haque. And man, this one's going to be fun. I'm excited to welcome him on. He's the dynamic host of the KTN. I don't know. We'll dive into
kicking ass, taking names.
Yeah, man. And it's like kicking ass, taking names, which I'm super excited about. So the Kicking Ass, Taking Names podcast. And he's built a reputation for creating a space where authentic, unfiltered conversations about entrepreneurship, resilience, and personal growth can take center stage. Broadcasting from LA, Shaquil's podcast quickly gained national attention by blending humor, heart, and real talk to inspire listeners and guests alike. His passion for empowering others to overcome obstacles and embrace their full potential makes this episode a truly compelling listen. Please join me in welcoming Shaquil Haque to the podcast. Man, welcome to the Sales Factory, my man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Well, let's hop into this, man. Let's talk about this journey starting the Kicking Ass and Taking Names podcast. I love that. I love the vibe of that. You know what I mean? You like when you read the title of a podcast and you're like, I know exactly what the fuck that's about, right? Like that's what I love. So talk to us a little bit about Kicking Ass and Taking Names, man.
Yeah, so it's an ode to the old school, the old school vet style, adage, right? Like kicking ass, taking names, it was used a lot in older films and stuff. I just thought it would be something that stands out. And one thing that I like to tell people is like, don't overthink things. It was the first thing that came to my mind. I had the logo drawn up within, it's actually my buddy, Jeff J. Hunter, who has Savage Marketing. He actually did a logo that was similar to this, and I really liked it. So I kind of ripped it off of him. I told him that as well. He's flattered by it, so no worries, no copyright there. But and I just decided, I was like, I really like the style and the name, and I think it looks cool. I got it done, and then I rolled out my first 3 podcasts within my first week of having the idea. So from conception to execution, it was less than 7 days. I was in the studio. I probably spent from the idea to getting it done 20 hours straight, just getting everything done. Didn't wait. And just hit the ground running as hard as I could and use that momentum to keep going.
Nice, man. What made you want to start the podcast in the first place?
So I mean, I have a couple inspirations. I was big into like the Grant Cardone and those type of guys. And then I was inspired by Brad Lee. I just saw him sitting one day, chilling, talking, and just doesn't care. We're actually talking about interviewing Brad soon. It's just I'm talking to his assistant Maria. I interviewed his buddy Carlos Reyes. So on one of my podcasts, it was live, and Carlos actually came in and said, yo, I'm actually good friends with him. Let me give him a call. So live on the pod, we had Brad kind of like Zoom call us in or call us in. And I just spoke to him while like from his phone for a minute. But I told him, I said, you're my inspiration. You're the reason I started this, like half the reason I'd say. And the other half was that I wanted to be a motivational speaker when I was a kid, and this is the closest I've been to it. Wanted to speak on stage, and so this has kind of been the fruition of that dream. It's not finished yet. I'd still like to speak on stages, and just wanted to learn as I go. And so I didn't have any connections or didn't know anybody, but I just started interviewing people and pretty quickly got lucky with a couple of like big guests that were able to propel us. And now, we've got a good track record. And I could interview pretty much a a lot of really big names now. So
Love it, man. Love it. Yeah, I think podcasting is a great way to get access. Funny enough, last week I was in Tampa speaking at the Moving Titan Retreat, and so Bradley and I shared the stage, and
oh, cool, cool.
I had, yeah, actually I hadn't seen him since 2016. I thought it was 2017, but I went back in my Twitter DMs and I was in Vegas speaking at a conference in 2016, and I DM'd him. This was before he had a big, big social media presence. I was like, "Hey man, I'm in town. Would love to come see the Lightspeed VT headquarters." So he's like, "Sure, come on by." And I was 10 minutes late getting there, and as soon as I walk in, he's like, "Why are you late, man?" And I was like, "Oh fuck," right? I was like super nervous already, and I was like, "Man, I'm sorry, the cab like took a wrong turn. He was late to pick me up." And he's like, "Why are you taking a cab? Why aren't you using Uber?" And like, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, bro. Like Uber wasn't rolled out here yet, and so I was like, "The fuck is a Uber?" Right? Like I was like, "Oh, I know what you're talking about." And so Brad Lee is the guy that got me on Uber, and so that I thought that was always a funny story. So I hadn't seen him in probably 10 years. And so after we got done speaking, we were hanging out in the green room. And I was like, "Hey man, you probably don't remember me." And he goes, "Yeah, dude, DJ Carroll, how you been, man?" So I was like, "That's
Yeah,
cool." So yeah, man, Brad is a chill guy and definitely a cool cat under the collar for sure. So
yeah, yeah.
and love that you want to be a motivational speaker. I think that the world can always use more people to pour more light on others and to motivate them to believe in themselves. So that's great, man. Uh, Creating a platform and getting these people on here. You guys talk about embracing honesty and vulnerability and growth. Talk to us a little bit about how important that is, both for your brand and then what you just see, as for entrepreneurs, across the world.
Yeah, I mean, so I would say that's more boiled down to like authenticity. I would say is like kind of the way that we bring it up. But what we've done is we've just allowed a space and created the space for people to speak and really just showcase their best selves. Because really, there's a lot of podcasts out there. Like the only way that you can stand out is like the interviewer has to create the space for the interviewee to really open themselves to maybe saying things that they haven't said before or thinking about things in different perspective, but also just bringing the right energy. And so by doing that, I'd say that is a piece of it. But my goal is always to interview from the perspective of like what that person would appreciate. So it's kind of like they say like the golden rule. I don't know if you've ever read the platinum rule. But the golden rule is, treat others how you'd want to be treated. But platinum rule is treat others how they would want to be treated because not everybody wants to be treated the same. So that is kind of the inspiration for how I kind of set everything up so that there's a space for them to basically be able to give their best feedback and just get the best episode possible.
I like that, man. I like that a lot. Who's a favorite guest or episode that's profoundly impacted you so far on your podcast?
So this one's pretty easy for me. It was like my first major guest was Evan Carmichael, and Evan Carmichael's like just Believe Nation, and he said something that was really impactful to me. First, he gave me a chance, so I have to say thanks to him for that as being the first big time guest when I only had 8 podcast episodes. I just started a few weeks earlier. I mean, maybe 10 weeks earlier, and I met him out at a breakfast place. I was having brunch with my mom, and I just saw him there, and I waited outside the bathroom, and I was like, "Hey, man, this is kind of awkward, but I know you. I'm a big fan, and I'd like to interview you. Like because all the college students, when I was in school before, all the college students would watch his videos, and like it would be like Kanye West top 10 tips for success or whatever, and just when you're studying, you just get some inspiration. And what he told me, which was really great, was he said that all entrepreneurs really lack, and the main thing that most entrepreneurs lack is belief. And believing, if more people just believed in themselves, the world would actually be a much better place because more would be done on a daily basis. More people would take action. So I think the biggest thing that holds most people back, you may not know what to do, you may not know how to do it, but if you have enough faith, you have enough belief, that really carries over into all aspects, especially in business. And I've noticed the more that I've believed in myself, the more that even without having a plan of how and not knowing what to do, it's become a lot easier to execute on things.
I love that, man. I shared a little bit of my story with you, and my audience knows this well. But my senior year of high school, I was staring at 8 football scholarships, and I turned them all down. I was going to go be a chemical engineer. I aced chemistry one, chemistry two, AP chemistry, and I remember my chemistry teacher and my guidance counselor was like, "What are you doing? You're throwing your life away. Like you're just going to mow grass for the rest of your life." And that was like one of my foundational principles that I learned is that you have to believe in yourself, especially when nobody else does.
Right.
Nobody can see my vision. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially when entrepreneurs are going to fix or solve big problems for the world, you're going to go through a point of time where people just are like, this is impossible. Why are you even trying this? Like you're crazy for even wanting to go on this journey. And I love the saying that entrepreneurs jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down, because it's so true. And I also think a big determining factor, a lot of people won't agree with me on this, but I think a big determining factor is your ability to have confidence. And I think confidence builds over time as you assert yourself into situations with the belief that you'll be able to figure it out. Like you'll put yourself in a situation like you didn't know that you were going to be able to interview Evan Carmichael and that it would go really, really well, but you believed that, man, if I can get him on this podcast, I believe in myself enough that I'll be able to raise to a level that it will be a good podcast. And Evan Carmichael will come out of the backside thinking that wasn't a waste of time. That was good. It's going to help some people, right? And so
Yeah.
I agree with you more on that, on those principles, man.
Yeah, and we spoke about that on the pod as well. It was pretty much, I mean, what you just said was what echoing what he said to me. And I don't know if that guy knows like how much of an impact he's had on me, but it's just like some people, they believe in you, they're your mentors. I consider him a mentor. So yeah, he's a great guy.
Love that, man. I love that. And it's funny because people are like, "Oh yeah, I've heard somebody say that before." Somebody said so and so said that. I'm like, isn't that interesting? All the successful people say the same thing, right? It's like you probably can take those to the bank, right? Those
Yeah.
are um, give me a lesson, maybe that you learned that touched on resilience or mindset, either in your personal life or your professional life. Maybe share a story with us where that was, something that was driven home around resilience. I think that's a big pillar of entrepreneurship, and so we'd love to hear maybe a time that lesson was taught to you.
Yeah, I mean, so I think I've been tested as of recently. So I'd probably bring up more recent stuff because um, it's just fresher in my mind. But I think it just the amount of times that I wanted to quit and leave the pod before I had enough, even after that interview, I still had a lot of doubts, but it brought me to a level where I just knew like I could not stop. Like there was just, I made a promise, said that I'm going to make this thing huge. And over time, I mean, we've cultivated an audience, and it's kind of like now what you have a small audience. You're not a nobody, but you're not at that high level, where you're world famous or anything, or you're not even
Yeah.
at the higher level of podcasts yet. But we've been able to get some interest potentially, like a couple of one-off sponsors, growing on a potential sponsorship. And I think in general, like not to be cliche, but it's just like keep going, and just like don't look back because I keep, if I look back, I could say like, okay, like my cadence of the amount of episodes I did was like double a year ago than it has been because we've had to grow more on like the back end. I've had to put some more systems in place where we could support our own growth, because we didn't launch with a plan of monetization. We launched with inspiration. Like, it's not, which is great. And I use that as fuel, but that fuel after a certain while only lasts until the money runs out, right? So being able to just adjust and say like, if I want this thing to grow to the next level, and if I really want to take this thing to worldwide audiences, which is what I fully intend to do, then it's going to take a approach that's just not putting together a foundation on nothing but building a solid base. So just in the last year, we've been building the groundwork on just systems in place that allow us to monetize better. And also, I've been launching, a community that helps other entrepreneurs grow. That's part of like inspiration. And I eventually hope, and I'm working on, and I know that we will get to the point where we will put on events, um, not just networking events that are going to be great, but also events for myself as well to grow as an entrepreneur and speak and to inspire others. So how I cultivate that is going to be my next challenge for sure. But right now, it's for sure just honestly the little things that you don't see are putting in work, and it you don't notice it until like 2 years later, a year later, and you're like, oh, okay, like these little things that have not they seem so insignificant, and still I'm getting 3 months later. I mean, even if I stop for a little bit, I still have the progress I made. So it's like, well, if I just keep going and I keep planting seeds, like I just have to stay in that mindset of keep planting seeds. Don't expect anything in return. Just expect that your hard work is going to pay off at some point, and that's it. So just putting down the groundwork for what we're doing now, um, and like it's not perfect. It's like you say it and it sounds good. It's like, okay, cool, like this last year you've put down the groundwork. What does that look like? I mean, it's looked like I went to Dubai, and I went to other places, and I traveled, and I had fun too, right? Like it doesn't mean that I was just like constantly focused on just the business side. It's like, how do I expand my mindset? How do I expand my network? There's a lot of aspects of it that can play out that you don't know how. So I would say, God will guide you and have faith, but also just remember that as long as you don't give up, that's the biggest thing. And you have to believe, and you have to go with some velocity at some point, right? And that's what I've been learning at this recently is deadlines, velocity, um, just something that took me a while. Like I'm 30, and I think that I have the same what's it called? Um, just like a sense of urgency is the word. And I have a more of a sense of urgency now that I kind of wish I had at 25, And I don't
Okay.
know, like this, maybe I'm a late bloomer, but that's the thing that's been helping transform and make shifts now. Is it's like you got enough of the pieces and you have enough of the ability to go, but you need that like, it's like the Back to the Future. Like I have the car, but we don't have that power source, and I need that bolt of electricity to really take things to the next level. And that's basically what we're trying to do. Is just I'm just trying to rub my feet against carpet long enough to generate a charge. With socks, right? Like that's like kind of how it feels like. I'm just sitting there generating a charge, and then it's going to turn into a static shock. And that's like the goal of the podcast and the content, whether it's small changes in our style, or it's getting on better guests, or it's putting together networks to help people discover us easier, or it's anything of the sort like that.
I think so. A couple of things to unpack out of that because I think you said some really good stuff there. One, like, gotta guide you. He's got you. Two, I think the guy that doesn't give up is a hard motherfucker to beat. Right?
Yeah,
That's the tough dude to beat when you just don't give up. Also, I don't think, man, you're late. I had some levels of success in my 20s that for a stretch of time, I was working 4-day weeks. I'm on my boat Friday through Sunday. And I look back and I'm like, geez, man, like you burnt some time. You should have been grinding your face off a little more. I don't really regret it though, because I think it's important that you live life along the journey and
yeah,
that you kind of enjoy the fruits of your labor along the way. My wife and I were in Vegas one time and we saw this like 70-year-old couple in walkers like going down the strip. And I'm like, I'd much rather be here when I can go to the Omnia and enjoy it, right? Than like
yeah.
years old and like we're playing slot machines on our social security fund. So while it's easy to say, man, I should have put in more work, I should have put in more time. I also think there's something that says like, you got to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Because if not, I think that's why a lot of people give up, dude.
Or burn out. Yeah.
I think a lot of people give up because they burn out and
Mhm.
celebrate the wins. they never celebrate the wins or the high marks, and they overbeat themselves up on the low marks. And so I used to have a basketball coach that said you got to sail with an even keel, so like in a sailboat. And so you never want to ride the boat too high out of the water, and you don't ever want to have it pitched too far down into the water. And so, like when the sailing's good, enjoy it, but also know that rough waters are going to come. And man, at 37 and being an entrepreneur my whole life, I can tell you they don't just come one time, right? Like they
Yeah.
show up multiple times in your life. The IRS shows up multiple times in your life. The people that want to take your legs out from underneath of you, they come around multiple times. And so I think just knowing that fight's going to happen, and I'll even give you props, dude. You know, while we were setting up for the podcast, like you're having some problems with the cameras and stuff, and I was like, hey man, if you want to reschedule it, no, I got this. Like that's resilience, you know, like that's an easy tactical way that I can be like, that's resilience that you got. Cause it would have been easier for you to just like, yeah, man, whatever, we'll push it till next year when you got an opening. Be like, no, man, it's on the calendar, let's get it done. That man is like, it's very, very difficult to beat people that operate that way.
Yeah, and also that resilience goes back to, I mean, we're actually not pivoting. I've always actually interviewed and have been interested in martial arts and MMA. So I train, I do kickboxing, and I wrestled in high school. And I actually, right now, we've been
It's
expanding a different style, right?
Carmichael, really what happened? You put that motherfucker in a headlock. You're like, you're gonna be on my podcast, bitch.
No, so we actually, so some of the guys I interview, they would kill me, but I interview, so it's kicking ass taking names, so entrepreneurship, but also I put in my own passion, which is where I think I could also be different. Is I love MMA, I love UFC, like I'm just obsessed with it. And I interviewed Marcus McGee recently. He just fought Peter Yan, and so if he would have, I mean, I had also interviewed Eric Anders, UFC fighter. I've also interviewed Jake Shields, who's a major, like now he's like major in the political sphere, but and his whole kind of like black pill opposite, of the role. But it's okay because we allow that platform, because I let people be authentic. I think there's been two instances where like I didn't kind of like release something because I was like, it just didn't feel like it was in line. More that not that it wasn't appropriate, but it didn't feel like it was aligned with what we are trying to do. So it's like it would be great for like other podcasts and stuff. But there's been times where I've had to I've shelved things before, but 98% of the time, we're accurate with what we do. And I think that's the cool thing, is like kind of my new expansion is interviewing fighters and just growing in that UFC realm, interviewing MMA fighters. I want to definitely do some sort of content with that. Not sure what yet, but that's also something I'm really excited about. So um, yeah, that's part of that whole kicking ass, taking names, and resilience is having that fighter mentality too.
I love that. You know, quick plug for my book that's dropping October 14th. So no matter when this, it may already be out by the time this hits the airwaves, but that's why I wrote the Hunter Head Game, man. I believe that we have gotten soft as a society, on the top of all the COVID lockdowns and just the wokeism that's happened. I think, food is at the push of a button. Everything, the lions don't wander into the village and carry kids away anymore. And so like we think that there are no such thing as apex predators anymore. And we've gotten soft, man. And so that's why I wrote this book. I say that the old world rewarded obedience, the new world demands killer instincts because it's changing. Getting a job at a Fortune 500 company and putting in 30 years in a cubicle is a thing of the past, man. That's not a career path. I mean, you're out in LA. Like, I mean, I read an article the other day.
I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona, but I do have a studio in LA. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, so Phoenix is nice too. I read an article the other day that said that kids were graduating from like Berkeley and shit in the Bay Area with computer science degrees, masters in computer science, and going to work at fucking Chipotle because like they don't have a job. Like they're not, these big tech companies aren't hiring software developers like they were 5 or 10 years ago. And so
Yeah.
I think there is definitely a mindset that a fighter has, you know what I mean? That you have to be nimble, you have to be resilient, you have to be able to pivot, like, especially like, the style of a guy that you're going to fight, but like sometimes, dude, that guy might come out and be operating, like, oh, he's a wrestler. Like, nah, he's going to stand up and box with your ass this round because he's going to catch you off guard and he thinks he actually has even though he's not a boxer, he thinks he can box better than you can. And so now you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not what we prepared for. And you got to be able to make that switch. I think there's so much of that happens in business as well. I'd be curious your take on that.
Yeah, I think that for this conversation, all I think about is my father, who's an immigrant. He came from Bangladesh at the time. He came in 1980 or whatever. It was the poorest country in the world.
Mhm.
Now they're no longer even near the poorest country. Their GDP has grown a lot, but at that time it was the poorest country in the world. And when he came to the U.S., he showed up with no money. He pretty much lived in a closet, had guns pulled on him, lived in South Central LA. So I am from Los Angeles and grew up in LA when I was a kid. And so he grew up in that South Side. Worked at Church's Chicken. Now he owns Church's Chicken, but like,
That's
that's his mentality. I don't know if it was like he's just like, I don't know what the word is. It's not vindicative, but more of like a positive connotation, more of like a whatever the positive version of that would be, right? Like, you think you're gonna hold me down, I'll own this place. And he was like that immigrant that said, I'm gonna own this place, and now he owns seven of them. Like, and that's like only one of his businesses out of like 15 that he has, right? And that's like where I kind of got that was the true fighter that I've seen in my life has been my father, and I'm blessed to have a father and have a father figure. And I know there's a lot of people that don't, and so I think you got to look for inspiration where you can find it. But I've been lucky and blessed enough that I've had a father figure that was strong, like very masculine in my opinion, of like how he handles business, for at least for the minimum of like doing the main thing that a man should do is provide. And so he was really good at that. And I remember growing up in a house that wasn't so big. And I remember also growing up in a house that was big. So like I got to see that transition. And it's a really interesting thing to do because you get to see it and you have it in you. But to motivate yourself when you don't, like from like like from adolescence to now, and to motivate myself, I almost can see the difference in being a kid, saving my money, investing, and then hitting to teenage years, and then like blowing all of my 10K of like birthday savings, just got a couple of the wrong friends, went out, paid for everything. I'm going to pay for it. Don't worry, I'm going to pay for it. I mean, they just used me as a piggy bank, and blew away 10K. Um, and then being an adult and like learning the hard way, like about why do I keep not having money? It's because you're not saving. Why do I keep not growing my money? Because I'm not investing. And those type of things, where I studied all these books about investing and saving. And I was a big reader growing up, and I read more books than I don't think anybody I've ever met, basically. And I'm not trying to be like a Trump or have a Trumpism right now. I genuinely read a lot. Like, I was reading every day, all day. Like, that's all I did. So I haven't touched a book in like 8 years now. It's like I got to the point where I was like, dude, I read enough. It's like time for action. Um, and I still read sometimes, but it's not like once a year. I barely touch books now, and I do audiobooks. But my point is that I had like learned all these lessons and I had all this knowledge, but it was surface level. And I think you got to be put into a position where you utilize that knowledge. And that's really big and that's really important, because if you don't utilize that knowledge, then it kind of just sits there conceptually. And the difference between conceptual knowledge and knowledge that you actually use and understand to a real degree is like 10 years of mistakes. I mean, it's like, I thought it would be like, oh, I know that. I give it a year or two. Like, no, like if you don't really start practicing what you preach, you could lose 5 to 10 years of your life before you learn the lesson that you've been trying to tell other people. You know, I think it is that easy to lose 5 years. It is easy to lose 5 years of your life. Now, does that mean that it's like a huge regret and that like, oh, I don't like, no, I was young as well, and that's part of it and maturity. But just if I could tell anybody anything that means anything that I say, it's that put to practice small incremental things that you learn every day. Just try to put it into practice. Practice putting things into practice, because you're going to get a lot further doing it that way, than to just overanalyze all this knowledge. We live in a world where there's too many things. Like, just say no. Learn to say no to more things. focus on fewer things, and then do those things, and then come back. And then I'm sure by the time you look at that knowledge, it might even have transformed and been a new business by now. So don't have shiny object syndrome. That's the easiest lesson I learned from my 20s.
I love that, man. I love that. You earlier you mentioned velocity, and I smiled because that's one of our core values. And at my advertising technology company, Carol Media, is that speed a lot of time is people's like core value, but speed from a physics standpoint gives no directive on direction. Meaning
Yeah,
velocity is actually speed in a direction. And so, velocity is our third core value. And we always say, make sure, speed in the right direction. So I want you moving fast because you can't play ball slow. But we also got to make sure that it's in the right direction, not in the wrong direction. And so I lit up about that. I also agree with you, man, that, 5 years can go by like that. Like I said, I turned 37 in June, and having my kiddos, man, my daughter's 2.5, my son's 3 months old. That's just like put an accelerant on it as well. Which
yeah,
is crazy. So yeah, and the other thing too, man, is like people think that like a midlife crisis comes at 50, but like the average age now for an American man is like a hair under 80. So like by the time you're 40, you're halfway there. And so I think having that sense of urgency is super important. So it's good stuff, man. You mentioned books, so let's talk about that. What's some book recommendations you can give? Because I've probably got 180 audio books in my library that I've read. So would love to get some recommendations from you that we can share with the audience, man.
yeah. I guess that depends on the sphere of what you want to learn. Um,
It's just your
I,
favorite or the biggest ones that have had the most impact on you.
Gosh, I mean, like, it's still it would be I have, like, professional level, you know? I mean, what's cool is, like, for example, like, if you're in sales, and I know a lot of people who listen to this probably are somewhat into some sales. You got Hunter's Game that's used in sales, like Challenger sale, that's a good one. But, I interviewed Jeremy Lee Minor, his NEPQ. That's really good tactically for sales. I think he's got some of the best stuff in terms of that tonality, stuff like that. The Ultimate Sales Machine, if you're into recruiting and sales, Chet Holmes is a legend as well. Um, I read so many like specific things. Like it's hard to be like, oh, this is like the best book for life. But gosh, there was
Okay, let me reframe that then. So those were some sales ones, which I agree with you. Those are good. Maybe give us one for personal development, and then maybe for like professional development around like leadership, strategy, mindset, things like that.
So personal development, probably just Think and Grow Rich. I mean, it's cool. It's like super basic. Everybody says it, but I think it is a good one because it really is about believing in yourself, setting goals. It's all of the what's his name calls it. Is it Jim Rohn who says acre of mind, right? And that acre of mind, like to dig deep enough to achieve what you set out to, because like there's so many stories of people who they dig and dig and dig, right? Like the story of the African miner, and he digs and he stops like 2 feet short of the gold and he gives up. And then the next, you see those memes, and all of those things are based off of principles and concepts that you can find in so many books. I think it's at this point I haven't even touched a book, like I said, in a long time. So I actually am starting to atrophy. Like I'm like, dang, like what are the books I read? Because I had so many of them, man. But I honestly, I really thought that it's an interesting one. You should read 3% Man by Coach Corey Wayne. That's an interesting one. And that one is a dating book, but I learned more lessons about communication from that book than probably a lot of the other books. Like it was more applicable. So I think it just depends, man. I could give you a list, but I have to like look at the list for 5 seconds and be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When you have them all at the tip of your tongue. But I'll be honest with you, I'm blanking on them because it's been so long. Like I'm so focused on my own thing. Like I'm looking at tech and other stuff. Like I haven't even touched them in a while. But you could see I could show you my book collection. I could walk over there and you could see it.
I,
So
I think you gave a dozen of them right there. So there's the reading
yeah.
list 12 months for anybody that's listening. So, uh,
Yeah.
the one I'll piggyback on is a lot of people know about Think and Grow Rich, but they never read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. That
Yeah.
was more powerful
I
than
read excerpts from that. I haven't read the full one.
so the audiobook version is killer, man, because he basically is having this dialogue back and forth with the devil. And so like the voice, because it like is a different voice back and forth, super entertaining listen. And then I'll also say there's a if here's a little hack. If you have a Audible subscription, right? So you pay the $8 a month or whatever it is, there's a book called The Ultimate Jim Rohn Library. And
Oh, there you go.
$84 set if you buy it, but it's only one Audible credit. I think it's like the biggest arbitrage that you can use on Audible. And so,
Dang, I need to get that one. That one's really good. There's also like the Three Agreements. That's a really good, just solid, like old school. Obviously Kiyosaki, who I'm hoping to interview soon. I met him at my gym. We're still talking. I've been working on that one for over a year. I know people who interviewed him and they got him pretty quickly. I was like, how did you get him? But I'm still waiting on the response. So yeah,
uh,
yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad's always good. Just classic old school.
very cool. Well, Shaquille, we got to wrap this thing up, dude. I appreciate you coming on the Sales Factory. We'll definitely have to have you on again. You got to keep old Coach Carroll here in mind, man. When you guys get to doing those events, I would love to come light up the stage for you, man, and do that. We'll have to definitely. I'll try. Maybe I'll submit a form. Maybe I can get on the Kicking Ass Taking Names podcast too. So
Yeah, yeah. And if you guys want to look it up, it's at KATN dot podcast. Just don't forget the dot on Instagram, on YouTube. And then we're looking at some sponsorships because we're going to do all of the Spotify launch and all that. I've held off that intentionally, but we're going to do Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff as well.
love it, man. Love it. You guys go check him out. We'll link it all up in the show notes again. Shaquille, appreciate you coming on to the Sales Factory, man. It's been fun. And remember, guys, if you have not hit the subscribe button, the like, the share, do so down below or somewhere here, wherever you're watching it at, or on your phone if you're listening to the audio only version. By you reviewing the podcast, liking, sharing it out to your friends and family members, it helps us get in front of more entrepreneurs so we can continue to change the world. Until next time, I'm your host, Coach Carroll. This has been the Sales Factory. Hustle, it's worth it.